Oh, hi, how you doing, babes? You're looking lovely, you're looking gorgeous. That blue really brings out the colour of your eyes. It was a bit rough, wasn't it? That was a bit rough. But it had to be done, had to be done. This is what you have to do to earn your wee trips abroad. You sometimes got to lie on your back and just take it. But we're off to Bruges next Wednesday. You going? That'll be nice. I'll get a couple of wee Chardonnays with you on the taxi out to the airport for that one. Yeah, Paisley, I know, we've got to go. We've got to go to Paisley. It's a wee bit on the rough side. I know, but this is another price that you pay if we don't go along. Our ears will be burning. They'll be talking about us again. Last time I was down there, they kept saying to me, "Are you from Paisley? Are you from Paisley?" And I'm no, dear. I'm from Paisley Road West. That's a bit different. They're looking at me like, "Oh, God, he's some sort of glamour model or something like that." And I suppose it's true to a certain extent. But this is what you need to do. You know, we want to go a wee trip to Bruges. A lovely city, you know, they're kind of classy like ourselves, you know. So you got to earn it really. We've already had Athens. He's doing well, isn't he? We've already had Athens. That was lovely. Difficult going there with a vegan, no, the kebabs, etc. You have to kind of sneak one in behind his back. But I'm used to sneaking one like a long thing in it behind his back when he's not looking. You know what I mean? He's really busy. He knows I've got to amuse myself. We've got to amuse ourselves, haven't we, dear? Yeah, that's it. But the trip to Athens, that was lovely. I found the Polzenia Pepsi Cola place, the Czech Republic. That was a bit rustic, wasn't it? It's a bit rustic, a bit rural. Yeah, Prague is. I love Prague the most, as I always say. I love Prague the most. And that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to kind of just take it tonight, take it on Sunday, and we'll get our wee trip. I mean, we've got four trips booked. That's us. I'm going to have a look through the wee Europa League itinerary now and see what kind of places we're going to for that, and get a nice hotel. But we'll meet up, get a few Chardonnays over there. That'd be lovely, won't it? That'd be lovely. Slow, comfortable screw against the wall and all that. Get a few of them down us. But I'm looking forward to it. We're still involved. That's the main thing. We're still trying. I think at least he's got the hair. That's what I say with it. He's got the hair. He's got the lovely kind of, it comes around at the front like that, you know, and a bit of suntan underneath the beard and what have you. He's no 40 till Christmas time. So I'm doing quite well for myself this time. Barry was nice in Istanbul. That was lovely. I really enjoyed the wee trip to Istanbul. He was good to us, you know. And Bilbao was always roasting over there. I was lovely on the local men, dark skin and all that. Really nice. They don't eat chips over there, do they? No, it's pinchos they have, and it's. The restaurants were fantastic, lovely seafood in Bilbao. But he's got the tattoos, Barry, hasn't he? He's got the tattoos, and is it a hairpiece? I don't know. But I'd kind of had enough of bald men. I really had enough. I thought, next time, Alec, get yourself a guy with a good head of hair. Let's just get yourself a guy with a good head of hair. And I feel it was nice. I feel it was lovely. And he's got that lovely accent, kind of growly, gravelly foreign accent it has. It was absolutely lovely. And he was always telling me that I was always complaining. I thought, oh God, I'm a too fat, Philippe, too fat, and he would just say, no, your stats are absolutely fantastic. You know, you tell me my percentage-wise, my BFI, and I was at the British film industry. He was telling me that no, I was absolutely fine. There's a wee joke in there about stats, and Philip Clements' law of stats, and trying to measure it up with your measurements as a lady. But he took us to Seville. That was gorgeous. You know, we got a wee trip to the Côte d'Azur in Nice. Lovely as well, and they were on a good mood that night, weren't they? They were on a good mood that night. And Piraeus, which I think, personally, I find it a bit more exclusive, Piraeus, than Athens. Athens a bit tacky, really. That's for your kind of common. It's a bit Corfu, isn't it? It's a bit Corfu. Piraeus, a little bit of a secret over there. That's a place you really want to go to, just next to Athens, and it's been great. It's been fantastic. So we can't complain too much about tonight. We're still going to get the glamour locations out of it. Just maybe have to scale down the hotels we're going to. Scale down the hotels we're going to. I was trying to say it was. I'm going to start for the fact that it was 3-0 down. I'm going to put in the 3-0 down as a kind of fundamental of the game tonight when I'm not about to not analyse it but give you my personal emotional reaction to it. Like, that was a starting point. I'm going to make it that was a starting point. Like, that was already on the scorecard when the game kicked off. We were 3-0 down. It's like the colour of the strips that are being worn. It's like the referee, Monsieur Flixert. It's like, you know, the weather, the stadium the game's been played at, whatever. It's just one of the things. I'm going to start it. We're 3-0 down, so we've gained a goal. We won the second half, having lost the first half, and it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. I've got a general feeling, kind of reminiscent slightly of the one I had coming out the 4-1 doing. We got it home by Lyon, Olympic Lyonnais it was. So many home doings over the years in Europe. But we got a doing by Lyon in the Europa League group stage last season, and I've got the same kind of feeling after. It's just like, that could have been a lot worse. That could have been a lot worse. Like 4, I think when you pull one back, you get one goal that we did in the Lyon game, it's 4-1. I think a 3-goal doing is, it goes over 3 goals. 3-goal doing is heavy. It's a doing. We took a doing when you're conceding 3 goals. But I think when you get to maybe 4-1, 3, which you can hold it there, 3-0, 4-1, it's not too brutal. Particularly at this kind of level, you're looking at Champions League level against a Champions League group stage club as we're playing tonight. But getting it back to 3-1, only getting beat by 2 goals. Barry Ferguson. Barry Ferguson's first European game in charge of Rangers, he loses by 2 goals at Ibrox, and from what I can remember, because it wasn't that long ago, because we got pretty far on in that tournament, the place was absolutely buzzing. Whenever they came out at Ibrox that night, the place was absolutely jumping for joy, so I don't see why Russell Martin's getting the abuse he's getting tonight. Barry Ferguson didn't score a single goal in charge of a European game in charge of Rangers at Ibrox, but yet people tonight obviously still be hoping that he was manager, wishing he was manager. We should have stuck with Barry, say the Russell Martin doubters, and they'll be out in force tonight. But I did say it could be like the Levski Sofia game. I was saying we were going to try this. I was saying last night in the preview pod. No, I didn't. I said there'd be 4 goals. I feel a bit like the Celtic, that Celtic supporter that did the Rangers tax case blog. Remember the manically obsessive Rangers tax case blog, and then when we won the first tax case, he just put up a note saying, what was it he said? I can't remember what he said, but it was a bit like, Kenneth Halliwell's note after he'd bludgeoned Joe Orton to death about, it's, if you want to know what happened, just read his diaries. It was a one-liner like that. I thought all my information seemed good at the time, just a wee one-liner. I feel that I should really be doing that tonight. Another fat git, a kind of snake oil salesman or false prophet or something like that last night, going, we could do something here. I just get behind it. I should just do a wee kind of pod going, oh well, could have been worse, and then F off, as you'd probably like me to, as I probably should, but I never have a problem with sticking up for Rangers and hoping for the best for Rangers. And it could have been a lot worse. It's not what you want to come out of a game saying. You don't want it to be the takeaway. You don't want that to be the only positive. And I don't think it is. We're now all megaloma maniacs. I don't want to sound like I'm insulting the fella's name. It's just I can't do the wee kind of add-on thing at the end. But you get the idea. He was fantastic, a real bonus for us. And we learned a lot about our team. It's about trusting the process and learning and moving on. But I think my call last night to Rangers fans to kind of get behind the team, and hopefully we could get a better result tonight, even a draw or whatever. I was saying it'll be 2 each. I think I had a feeling for 2-2, and the only problem would be that I think we'd go 2-0 up, and they would come back into the game. It would just get too much for us. Their quality would show through, and they come back to 2 each, and that would let everybody be happy. Those of us who were just happy to be in the playoff round and saw it as a bonus, and the main thing was not to get gubbed, and also the folk who are determined, that Rangers fans we're talking about, all the Rangers fans would be happy. The ones that are determined to hate Russell Martin and think he just doesn't have what it takes for the job. Well, they could say, well, he's chucked away a 2-goal lead. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. So everybody could come away happy in their own preconceived notions of the game. It didn't quite work out like that, did not quite work out like that at all. It was us that pulled a goal back. There was 4 goals in the game, like I say, I got that bang on, but that was a bit, and I was saying we could be like Levski Sofia, 93-94 to the Club Brugge being us 93-94, they're Rangers 93-94. It doesn't really work out well, because the last time we played Club Brugge in European competition, the only time we previously played a European competition was the 92-93 Champions League, and we did really well. We beat them here at Ibrox on a memorable night, and we drew them in the Jan Bredo, and we ended up with a goal away from the final. And the following season, the qualifiers, it was that kind of, we went into the game against Levski Sofia to get ourselves, had to beat them to get the unheralded Levski Sofia to get ourselves into the next Champions League group stages. And we were just thinking, just get us to that point again where we just need one goal, like in the Velodrome the previous season in Marseille, just one more goal and we're in the final. Just get back to that, let's do that again. But we'd forgot we had to reset completely and mentally reset. We just didn't have enough experience of reaching that kind of level. And we did really, because we got the quarterfinals, and in 1988, the old European Cup. It was only the second season of there being group stages in the European Cup or the Champions League. It was the first season of it officially being the Champions League as opposed to the European Cup. I'm not trying to delay analysing the game. It wasn't that bad. I'm not trying to delay analysing the game. No, a lot to get into. But I was just saying how we could be the Levski Sofia because we went 3-0. It was two. I need to check this out. We definitely went at least 2-0 up on the night. I was at the game. I was in the Broomloan. I've never been taken aback by the price of the tickets. But I was in the Broomloan that night. And we went 2-0. I think we went 2-0, then they pulled it back to 2-1, then we went 3-1 up. So twice it felt as if, this is it, we're going to just dispose of them, no problem. But they pulled it back to 3-2, and then of course we went over to Sofia, one each, and then they scored that goal from about 50 yards out into the top bin to put us out. And I was hoping that, Club Brugge, having done really well in the group stage last season of the Champions League and being beating Atalanta, that's when they were the Europa League Cup, the Europa League holders, beating them, the UEFA Cup, the trophy's called the UEFA Cup, but they won the Europa League the previous season. Atalanta and Bruges went and did them home and away in the knockout playoff round, and then didn't go out until the last 16, so I thought maybe they're going to be getting ahead of themselves tonight, and they went 3-0 up, so we brought it back to 3-1. I thought, this is it. We're going to end up making it. We'll pull it back to 3-2, and we really are. Levski Sofia, it doesn't really work though because Levski Sofia were away in the first leg and we're at home in the first leg. So, it's how you doing, folks? This is your Fat Eck immediate post. Russell Martin having won by 2-0 in his first home European match as Rangers manager, and then won by 3-0 in his second home match as European match as Rangers manager. Has in his third European home match as Rangers manager been involved in a 4-goal match. So that's it's keeping a wee pattern going there. Things are moving in the right direction. Reaction Pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet every Friday night, 9 p.m, every Sunday, 9:30 p.m, live on the Jersnet YouTube channel and available across all other platforms thereafter. All other platforms except, of course, Solid Sport. Solid Sport. I'm sponsored by Jersnet, and I'm also sponsored by, I'm going to say, Heineken, Pepsi, Sony PlayStation, and Heineken MasterCard. I think they're the only ones. I saw the night on the big on the LCD screen, the advertising holdings, the modern advertising holdings. I think they're the only. The old Starball was out in the middle of the part of the night. We were getting the Zadok the Priest rip-off Champions League tune before the game. You're getting so close, you're tantalisingly close. Let's get the advertisers in there. Let's get the sponsorship. And that's obviously what it was all about when it was made. When it was first mooted. Helped Campbell Ogilvie helped get it together. Rangers were I remember Colin Armstrong telling me, Moonman saying to me, see one of the stars in the star ball, that's Rangers, one of them's Rangers, the original star ball for you, because we were right in there in the very first Champions League group stage and organising the Champions League. We were part of drafting it up, drawing it up, and I say 91-92 they had the dry run in the group stages, 2 quarter-final group stages, 4 teams each for the 91-92 European Cup. It was a 91-92 European Cup won by Barcelona with that Ronald Koeman goal at Wembley. I'm not avoiding talking about it. And then the following season they could go ahead. That was it. They'd give it a dry run. They tested it. They stress tested it. They could let in the sponsors. And I sat there, didn't I, in that preview pod last night, hour and 20 minutes. So I can justify having a short one tonight. You've had enough. You've heard enough from me. And if you want to know my deepest thoughts around this tie and what it means for Rangers, you can go back and check out the preview pods. I don't have to stand here and justify things, justify myself, justify what happened in that park. But I was sitting there last night doing the preview pod, and behind me the poster for the game against Bruges, which featured. It was a poster. That shows you how long ago it was. 32 years ago. There's a poster. 33. With Mark Hateley on it, the image of Mark Hateley taken from him equalising in the first home game in the Champions League group stage, the first night of the Champions League ever, first match day 1 of the proper group stage against Marseille when he scored the equaliser against Marseille. We picture of him there, and it's on the poster it's advertising the game against Bruges, our second home game and of course he ends up getting sent off in that one, and we're still to this day thinking that made the difference. That made the vital difference. That stopped us winning the Champions League that season. But at the foot of that poster, and I haven't gone and checked out my own efforts for good reason, you know. I mean, if you hate listening to me, what do you think it's like living with that voice inside your head all day? The sponsors are down the bottom. Snickers is definitely there. Was it JVC maybe? Is that that's JVC seemed to sponsor everything kind of 80s into 90s when I was a kid, including of course famously sponsoring the Arsenal kit in the 80s and that into the 90s. But JVC, Snickers was definitely one. Was it Sony then? Maybe it's Sony as opposed to Sony PlayStation. I don't. There's folk out there told what you call it, gamers or gamer heads, tech heads, whatever you call folk that are into. I had one PlayStation around about 2000, 2001. My wife got me and just thought I'd find it cut, and I ended up I had to replace the handsets about 15 times within the first 2 months of having the thing, because I did the Fitbit thing, the FIFA thing. You know, the bit where the bit where you're shooting Germans all the time. What's that called? Anyway, I did that during the Second World War. That was, what's that called again? Medal of Honor. I did that, and I tried the Tomb Raider thing. It was boring. I wasn't really good at that. But the Fitbit, that was murder. I kept making myself Odd Grenland of Norway to make myself like the worst team I could find with the worst ratings, so I could then go and try and win, you know, like the Norwegian double and the Champions League over the course of a couple of seasons. And I was just, any time I lost a last minute winner or something like that, I would bounce I would just sit up to 3-4 in the morning, just like, not even on drugs or anything, just constantly playing this thing, smashing it afterwards. When folks started telling me about a game called Football Manager, that was like, no, that would be heroin. I just couldn't do that at all. But I did have I don't really know. That's the only time I had a PlayStation I realised it was going to just end me. I was going to die all alone, sitting in my pants, shouting at a screen. I do enough of that, watching Rangers in Europe. So that's I don't really know what happens with the PlayStation. I don't know when they were invented. Folk out there be going, oh, like you think the PlayStation was invented in 1992. Well, I don't know. I just can't remember the proper advertising. But I think, there's Scott Arfield. He was on Amazon Prime the night, and he still looks like he's in his Amazon Prime. Does Scotty Arfield, Mr. Saturday Night, going past me getting at his motor on a Tuesday night and making me feel very sentimental for better evenings. But anyway, that was it. I'm sponsored by because that's the ones. I think they're still the same advertisers. Maybe I don't know if they've been there the whole time, 30 odd years of the Champions League. I'm certainly not going to mention Crypto or Qatar Bloody Airways or Bet365. Just eat. These are the adverts you're trying. But the thing I was thinking tonight, sitting looking at the adverts across the kind of balcony, the LCD advertising screens we've got now is how, like, remember 92, 93, you just have to put up, it was a Starball logo would go right across the stadium, and then you'd shove that would go right across the kind of balconies, and then on the track side all the adverts would get changed. That was something that had been happening in European football as long as I'd been going to it. My first game, 84-85, at home to Inter, I remember it was black bin bags. They would go over all the usual adverts. Rangers had only got stadium advertising. They were, I think, the last club in Scotland to get stadium advertising. I'm talking in terms of hoardings, old-fashioned wooden hoardings round the pitch. I think we thought it was a bit tacky. We eventually succumbed to that. So by the time I was going, I think that was only the late 70s that we did that. I'd seen on the highlights of the Bayern game. I've watched obviously a few times us beating Bayern in the semi-final, the 71-72 Cup Winners' Cup, even though it was before my time. I was only 2-3 at the time, but I've watched the video plenty of times, and there's lots of fantastic adverts around there, obviously aimed at the Germans watching on television, the Bavarians watching live. But what would happen, like when I went to my first European game, it was, oh my God, everything's different. There's a UEFA flag up there. And, you know, what kit manufacturer is that the visiting team are wearing? Because teams were genuinely foreign back then. I know, classic old man statement. But the other thing was, there was all these bin bags getting put over the front of, like, the Hados, you know, and, Golden Wonder, TSB, all the usual adverts, like A-Team A's, they're getting the black bin bags put across them, and on would come all the adverts for, Rai Uno was showing the game. It wasn't on telly in Scotland, but Rai Uno were showing it. So it's all adverts for, like, spaghetti and lasagna, carbonara, being inappropriate to women. All these kind of adverts, to opera, things like that. It was all part of the exoticism of the thing. But now we've You don't have to go to all that trouble. You don't have to send some of the boys out there. That's probably why they've got too much time now. They can shout stuff at the head coach and give him little epigrams, hoping he's going to mention them in these pressers. The tanker's turning. All right, okay, I'll jot that down. I'll slip that into the patter at Friday's pre-match presser. They don't have to do it because just obviously program it into the LCD stuff. And how times have changed. Also, unfortunately, Rangers' involvement in the Champions League is pretty peripheral for the last 15 years or so. We're not as central as we once were to the biggest club competition in the world. I know the FIFA Club World Championship is trying to change that, but it's only had one go at it. Let's keep the shorthand for the Champions League. I'm sponsored by that. My name's Alec Anderson. You've been painting the blue, looking through solid air. You've been seeing it through, looking through solid air. I don't know what's going on in your mind. I get the feeling you just don't like what you find. Solid air. I love you. I need you. I will be your friend. I would follow you anywhere, 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 even through solid air, even through solid air. My name's Alec Anderson. I'm talking to you directly after Rangers have lost the first leg of the Champions League playoff match against Club Brugge by 3-1 here at Ibrox Stadium, here at home. And quite a crazy night. Went from the pit of despair, terror really. It was more like terror, thinking we're going to get utterly annihilated here. We did, in terms of tactically, in terms of the playoff itself, the idea that we might progress to the Champions League group stage. We really don't want to now, do we? Even if we just, it would be a bit of a constant mauling, wouldn't it? If this is the kind of level we're going to be playing at. But no, it was then turned into, slowly but surely, I'm thinking, it was a kind of knife edge really in the second half, where you're stuck between, I get it back to 3-2, getting the goal so quickly in the second half to bring it back to 3-1. It was like, get it back to 3-2. Oh no, don't make it 4-1. Don't make it 4-1. That's going to end up. You're scared they're going to snatch a couple of goals towards the end of the match. But we had the majority of the ball in the second half. Having gone 3 goals down within 20 minutes, you could be forgiven for thinking that maybe only being 3-0 at half time, never mind 3-1 at full time, was a bit of a result. Got to be realistic, folks, and we've got no choice with this result other than to be realistic. It's all perspective, it's all context, it's all amelioration, it's all. I mean, really, when you think about it, there's no fun here, there's no glory here. We're still very much in the process. My pal Robert, I was telling you, I don't keep going about pal Robert, but he's the only person I know that says in the original. So you've got to I've just alienated all my other pals. Now that's totally completed. That's a bit of tin lid on this night, but he said to me, I was talking to him after the game on Saturday against Alloa, and he was saying to me that he'd seen this thing on, I think it was on Follow. It was a Southampton fan had written in, and he was saying it's 10 games. Russell Martin, he's got a kind of thing where it's 10 games. The way same at Swansea perhaps, it's 10 games in before you'll see any benefits, and he just texts me at half time the night going, this is still game 8. I'm just like, I'm clinging to that like a life raft. That's all I've thought about for the 20th minute on. I think when you're 3-0 down after 20 minutes, the last time, I've gone on endlessly, I'm not going to bore you with it again. I've bored you enough already. I've gone on endlessly since July about the fact that I wasn't at the Scott Nisbet game. I didn't make that game. For various reasons, I'll not tell you why. I'm not going to go into it again. I'm bursting to, even though I tell this story all the time. But I wasn't at that the Scott Nisbet game, so it was a big deal for me to go to the friendly against Club Brugge that we played in July. And of course, just like the buses, not having seen them at any point previously in my life, I now see them twice in a month, and twice in about 6-7 weeks, and I'm really not thankful for it. I'm really not thankful for the second time I've seen Club Brugge. I have seen them in not the Champions League proper, but at least I've seen them in proper European competition, because there's some folk out there give it, if you see a team in a friend that doesn't count, well, still take the bloody money off me, don't they? Still charge me money to go in and see them, so I'm saying it counts. That's a wee bugbear of mine. Because a lot of clubs I've just seen at friendlies. So I wasn't at that game, and so I was desperate to get to that friendly in July, not knowing we're going to draw them again in Europe in a few weeks' time. And we're 2-0 down after 17 minutes in that game. Remember? And we come back to 2 each. I think that's why I thought it would work the other way around tonight, because we made a lot of changes in the second half to come back to 2 each, and they made a lot of changes in the second half that kind of weakened their time. We started with the week. So we're 2-0 down after 7 minutes tonight, 3-0 down after 20, and Robin Proper and Leon King weren't playing at centre half tonight. Not at all. It was to be 3-0 down after 20 minutes. All you're thinking about is how bad is this going to get. And my starting point, as I was saying last night, missing out the predictions I was making about the score, but my starting point emotionally last night about this game was, it's a bonus. It is a bonus. We're not expecting to get into the Champions League group stages when we started this season. We know, no matter what your opinion of Russell Martin is, it's pretty clear that there's been a complete clear out of players. We're bringing in a whole lot of new players. There's a whole new tactical system being imprinted on these players. There's guys arriving having to settle in at Ibrox, having to settle in at Glasgow. There's a whole lot of other players who don't know if they're going to be here come the end of the month, or even at the end of August yet. You know, there's a massive transfer window, a couple of weeks coming up. We don't know who's going to still be here. We don't know who's, how many more players we're going to add to the squad, and the existing players, the guys that are still playing, Nico Raskin, Tav, etc. John Suter, they're having to learn the new system as well, while also adjusting to having a whole queen of new teammates. It's to think we're going to get into the Champions League group stage, get through 3 qualifying rounds in this tournament at this stage, a bit much to hope for. Even though Steven Gerrard got through 4 qualifying rounds of the Europa League group stages in his first season, and then the following season get through, was it 4 again, or was it 3 4 the following season? Let's not get into that. Like you're obviously desperate not to talk about the game, but I think it's a bit of a task. It was a bit much. None of us were really given them much of a chance of getting past Panathinaikos. So we're 2 games further on than we thought we'd be in this Champions League process. We guaranteed ourselves Europa League football pretty much 3 games into this campaign. No, it was the minute we beat Panathinaikos. It was 2 games in. We'd guaranteed ourselves Europa League group stage football. So we're good. We're all good. This was just bonus stuff. But the problem with the bonus territory is, unlike death, that undiscovered country from whose born no traveller returns, the territory of bonus is somewhere Rangers get routinely leathered. It just all goes wrong. Getting to the Champions League, I remember talking of getting to the Champions League, it feels like a completely different scenario, because we hadn't been in the Champions League group stages plural, or the group stage. It was the groups that were plural, but I used to always call it group stages. Back in 2022, 2023, we'd got to the European final the previous season. We lost that in penalties. That in itself could be seen as an utter agony. Having like bonus material, I'm not expecting to get this far in Europe. We're in the quarterfinals, we're in the semi, we're in the final. It's penalty kicks. That Ryan Kent been talking all day about how the regret about Mark Haley getting sent off in 92, 93 and other stuff that happened in that campaign. It's probably the greatest season in Rangers history, I think, in terms of overall competence. You win the treble, you go 44 games unbeaten, and you're including an unbeaten one in the Champions League, and you're a goal away from the Champions League final. We've never played the final before, closest we've ever come. Europe's top tournament, so I feel as if that's the greatest season in our history, all things considered. And yet we've still got regrets. We've still got regrets about it. Nice regrets. Like, could just have been a bit better. Could have went all the way. The way Marseille. They didn't get lucky. They certainly played Milan, but a Milan team who'd been destroying everybody all season, and then in the final just didn't turn up at all under Fabio Capello. As opposed to Arrigo Sacchi, and 1-0, a goal for a corner, Basil Bowley, who ends up coming to Rangers just almost to rub it in. That could have been us. You could have imagined us doing that, us playing that Milan team that way that night. So there's plenty of regret. It's all close, blah blah blah. But the other kind of regret you get, I've completely lost the thread of what I was saying. The other kind of regret you get is getting in there and getting absolutely stuffed, getting into a tournament and getting absolutely spanked. The other regret sorry, it's comparable with 92-93 as Ryan Kent's. Steve Davis, Ryan Kent. I still don't look at it too hard. Kamal Roof comes on for like 2 minutes. He can only play about 2 minutes in Seville, and he just does it straight away, proving why it's worth risking him for 2 minutes. Maybe if we'd risked him for 3, he would have won the thing. He comes on and just makes that bit of space, and it's that shot, which I've never had it confirmed if it was offside or the ball had gone out when Kamal Roof's pulling it back. But I don't like to. I've not watched it again, really, to be honest with you. I just thought we could have won the Europa League there. The penalty shootout. That's, everybody feels the worst on a penalty shootout anyway. It's a pessimistic thing. It's a dark thing into a penalty shootout. No matter how good your guys at it, so we lose that, you're kind of prepared for that. But it was just, we've gone so far, we've done so well, never believe it was great to get to a European final after everything we'd been through in 2012, going from the fourth tier of Scottish football to a European final. But you just can't help thinking, had we won that, had that ball get squared a bit quicker, or Ryan Kent had hit it a bit quick, whatever, that would have been it. We could have, swept everything that went wrong for us at any time in Scottish football. Swept it right under the carpet, swept it right. We could have swept all of Scottish football before us by becoming the first Scottish club to win 2 different European tournaments, to win 2 European tournaments, and this is out of the black and white age. This is the modern age, the 21st century. It would have been absolutely scintillating. It would have revolutionised everything in an even more powerful way than getting to a European final already had for us as a club. But I'm going to get out the sweeping man's way, because the way things are going tonight, I'll get chewed up between those brushes and spat back out in some sort of revenge for my overly optimistic predictions about tonight's game. Those are regrets. But the following season, those are painful memories. But the following season, we got into the Champions League, which was a need. That was a total need. It was something we had to do again. We didn't the kind of collateral of not winning that Europa League group stage, but having the bravery to fight on all fronts meant we just lacked enough to win that Europa League, and also just fell behind Celtic in the title race. We're playing against Eintracht Frankfurt in the final, who'd copped out of their domestic scene altogether, and we were up against Celtic in the league, who'd copped out of Europe altogether. So we're trying on all fronts. You don't win in, you just miss out on qualifying for the Champions League. And the following season we had a Belgian team, Union Saint-Gilloise, who we get past in spectacular style, and then we get PSV Eindhoven. It's 2-each at Ibrox, and we go over there. The first time we drew 2-each at Ibrox with them in the 2020s. And we go over to Eindhoven. We win 1-0, but before that game I remember sitting out my back door having a cup of tea and just tweeting whatever, because it was so long ago. I still did Twitter, and tweeting that this was, I just couldn't bear the thought of us not going through. I just couldn't bear the thought of us not getting into the Champions League group stage, because it meant so much in terms of kudos for the club. It would mean so much in terms of money, and it was the last hurdle. It was the last hurdle really in terms of being back. We'd done, I think I said that when we won the League Cup a couple of seasons later. That's the last hurdle. We've won all the major domestic trophies. There's always a last hurdle from coming back from 2012, but that was a major one. That was an absolutely major one, and we qualified that night. Cholak scores the only goal of the game. We get through that night. I just thought, that's it. Everything's absolutely fantastic. Everything's fan-dabby-dozy. We're good to go. I wasn't actually thinking about what would happen in the Champions League group stage. I was thinking about the money, thinking that we've been back there. And even we drew Liverpool. I was just, Liverpool, fantastic. I was waxing lyrical about Liverpool in Europe in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. I was going on and on about them last night in my preview pod for this game. And it's, we're going to get to play Liverpool in Europe in the Champions League competitively. I'll see, we get to shoot into the Kop. Go to Anfield and shoot into the Anfield Kop. We didn't get a single shot in the box. We didn't touch the ball in the box at the Kop end in the first half. Only lost the game 2-0, but then they come to Ibrox and they beat us 7-1. It's my joint worst ever experience of European football. I wasn't at the Progress near the corner away game. I wasn't at the leg in Luxembourg, but that and getting spanked 7-1 by Liverpool are the two worst moments of my life supporting Rangers in Europe. You don't take on board, it's a bonus, don't really care about what's going to happen once we get there. It was like, in 2015, 2016, Mark Warburton, no, Burwood had one season where we couldn't get out the Championship. That was bad enough. Mark Warburton, we're not just getting out the Championship, we're playing in fine style. We're absolutely battering them. They were battering everybody left, right and centre. All right, now we've got the title one, it's kind of slipping up a wee bit, but we've got Celtic, the form's slipping up, but the title's in the bag. We're going back to the top flight, that's fine. That's what the man was brought here to do, and we've got Celtic. We've got Celtic in the Scottish Cups. Just if we could just beat them, that would just be a wee marker laid down for the following season. With Celtic, but a wee marker laid down for the following season. Just let Celtic know that we're coming back and it's still us. We can still beat you, and we did. We beat them in penalties in that semi-final. Yeah, beauty. I don't like you. I say to my brother-in-law who supports Hibs, because my mother-in-law had just died just a few weeks before, and it was an absolutely brutal time. And I'm like, and she had Rangers sympathies, but our daughter was a Hibs supporter, so our grandson was a Hibs supporter as well. And I'm saying, I don't care. I just want to beat Celtic so badly in the semi-final. I've got a funny feeling we'll beat Celtic in the semi-final, which Jean would have wanted, and then Hibs will win the Scottish Cup for the first time in 100 odd years. Now I just don't. And the way it happened on the day at Hampden, it was just, again, you're in bonus territory. You didn't worry about it, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrific. And I was vowing to stay there and watch Hibs lift the cup for my wee nephew, who was too young to go to the games, but as a mad Hibby now. I was like, I'll watch it anyway. I'll see it. I mean, the rest of the family wasn't there, they weren't there to get him, but I'm there, and I'll stand here and win while I'm there. It's Hibs supporters run up towards you, and I can't invade the park because I'll get arrested, but come in here. It was awful. It was absolutely horrible. I thought I might have to go in the park when they were attacking the play. What I'm trying to say is we're in bonus territory, and it was absolutely brutal, same as that Champions League. And of course, we had given Celtic a proper lesson, a lesson that they thought we're going to have to get a decent manager in and make sure we can scalp these Orods when they come back into top flight. And Celtic went the following season completely unbeaten as they won a treble, completely unbeaten in Scotland. So I think we're in the same situation tonight. I was saying last night, it didn't even occur to me, it's a bonus. It's a bonus to be in this playoff round. I'm just looking at it as we're in the Europa League group stage, and we've got an extra tie to play before that, a big tie against Club Brugge, a wee money spinner. That'll be good for us. It's a good lesson in football terms. It means we get an extra European game to watch as well. Look at it that way. The problem is when you're 3-0 down after 20 minutes, it's bonus territory again. It's absolutely murder. We're getting murdered here. Is that the worst start we've ever had in a match? Maybe in Europe? Could be. It's something else will spring to mind, no doubt, when I go back to the house, and you can drop me a line to let me know. But even that Liverpool game, but we were one each at half time, weren't we? That was Scotty Arfield, Scotty Arfield getting the motor there. He's obviously working with Amazon Prime tonight on the trackside there. I could see him. I think it was Gabby Yorith was down there, Gabby Logan. But he scored the goal that night, and we've got a goal in the Champions. That's one each for Liverpool. We'll have to. It's just a British derby, really, isn't it? We'll bring them down to our level. Ended up terrible, but in terms of starts to games, 3-0 down, 2-0 down after 7 minutes was bad. 3-0 down after 20 minutes, you're thinking this could be our heaviest ever European defeat. 7-1's the worst I've ever seen. It's the worst we've ever endured. We lost 6-0 to Real Madrid in the Bernabeu in the 60s in the old European Cup, but that was the only beat is 1-0 at Ibrox. No, Puskas, whiskey with Jim Baxter, but that's. I think that's to go 3 goals down after 20 minutes at Ibrox. I mean, we played the first time we played a Belgian side. I think it was. I was talking about it last night. It was Anderlecht in the preliminary round of the 1959-60 European Cup, and I think we were 2-0 up within 2 or 3 minutes at Ibrox. In the first game, we beat them 5-2 at Ibrox. Was it Standard Liège and Anderlecht? We played the two of them in the 60s. One beat us, we beat the other one. I keep getting them mixed up. I think it was Standard Liège who beat us. It was Anderlecht, but that's us starting a game really well in Europe. I can't remember a game like that tonight. Sorry, folks. I'm just kind of wondering what I've just witnessed. But it was quite crazy that first 20 minutes. I'm getting PTSD already. The first goal, I don't know. Butland seems to be. I actually ended up taking a straw poll. The guys run about you. Is it Butland or is it Giga? Is it Butland or is it Giga? And I think Butland was the general consensus was it was Jack Butland should have been out there clearing that up as the ball get played over the top. We're playing really high, that high line that we want to play. And I just wish it looked like, again, a case of I wish our head coach, I'm happy with Russell Martin. I'm quite happy to have him in the job. I'm excited still about what he's going to do. I do think he is the man. But I wish he would stop coming up against managers in really significant, pivotal, competitive games who he's been on a managerial course with, who he's discussed his tactics with, who he's proper matey with and has chatted away about his theories about the game. You know, remember the guy, the Motherwell manager? You know, they played alongside him and then they bumped into each other at a coaching conference. They obviously spent 2 hours on a bus for the airport to Bologna or something, just laying it all out there. And that guy's thinking, right, this is the way we're going to play Rangers in this game. So that's one each, an absolute disastrous start to our SPFL Premiership campaign this season. And then we've got this fella who the Bruges manager was a manager. It was Harvest. Sorry to Welsh fans, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not familiar with the name of that team or that league at all. But calling us Key Nomads, I know them. TNS, know about them. TNS, they beat us. They beat us in the closed doors game, the first game. Anyway, so it's when he was at Swansea, he gets to know the current Club Brugge manager, and he's chatting away with him. I don't think they ever met up though. They never met up, but they met through a mutual in the Welsh game, and they were chatting away, and he'd kept in touch. And he's obviously telling him every way he'd like his teams to play. So he comes out tonight, and he knows exactly. Russell Martin's supposed to know how Nicky Hain, or whatever his name is, the Club Brugge manager, is supposed to be wanting his team to play. But it seemed like we were being cut open in a way that came from knowledge, not just having watched the tapes, but having known how Russell Martin likes to operate. They came through the middle and they just knocked the ball over the top, Club Brugge, as we played the high line. And I think I did knock it over the top. I don't know. Giga seems to turn round as if he's going to knock it back to could knock it back to the goalie. But I think he's obviously thinking the goalie's going to be right out there covering it, because I think we do think Russell Martin likes a sweeper keeper. He's at the edge of his box though. Jack Butland, he's coming out. I think he's past his penalty spot anyway. Maybe coming out to the end of the 18-yard box, but there's so much space. Whereas my centre halves, they're kind of just outside the centre circle, into their own half, and they're facing the Bruges goal, and they're turning, and Giga's just thinking this ball's going to run through, but it's running through too slowly, and the Bruges player who is following the ball, who's watching it, who's just chasing it, he gets through. It's a lovely finish for the fella. First time just thinks over the top of Jack Butland, but it's kind of a basic finish at this level of football. It's a basic finish at professional football. The guy's just chipping a goalkeeper who's well out of his box and leaving his goals wide open. Giga certainly seemed to think it was Jack Butland's fault. I think John Suter did as well. John Suter, captain for the night. And everybody, there was a wee kind of Jack Butland. He comes out at one point to pick up the ball in the second half, and there's kind of sarcastic applause for him. Didn't deserve that. He doesn't have my problems with Jack Butland, but he's been fantastic for us so far this season. He's a reason we're in this round. But I did the Panathinaikos game, the away game, the goal that Panathinaikos scored that night. The ball that goes into our box, it just basically drops in the penalty spot and bounces to the back post, and Butland goes out and tries to shut it down. Is unlucky not to keep it out. The one goal they scored, which turned out to be insignificant anyway for Panathinaikos. But I remember then thinking, should Jack Butland have come off his line for that? And there's a few other times I've thought he maybe should come off his line for these things. And I think that's why I feel as if Russell Martin wants your sweeper keeper. There was a couple of times the Club Brugge goalie, they swept the ball back to him with us kind of piling in on goal, and he's just 1 foot in it, like, kind of 25-yard curling passes out to the byline, right to the feet of his opposite fullback. That's what we're looking for, I think, and that's how we've set our team up for that kind of goalie. Which Jack Butland, I don't think he's been doing really well with the ball at his feet lately. Jack Butland, he's been sending some lovely passes about the park. He's obviously trying to be that goalie for Russell Martin, but tonight he got shown up anyway. I'm inclined to think it would be Jack Butland's fault if anybody, but that's just technical apportioning of where the mistake happened. No apportioning blame there to anybody, but it was terrible. It was an awful goal to lose, and that was 3 minutes into the game. Bad start, but you're thinking maybe that's the wake up call we need. Maybe that will get us go. This is what happened. I was talking to the boy beside me. He's been to see Rangers all over Europe for decades. we're talking about different European games through the years, and I was like, Lakatush, for Stoy Bucharest in the quarter-final of the 87-88 European Cup. I felt as if I felt like that. We were a fantastic atmosphere that night, just as it was tonight at kick-off, and within 2-0 down for the first leg in that one. It was the second leg was at home, and it was Marius Lakatush goes through on a goal and just pits it into the net. A similar style past Chris Woods that early into that game and silence the crowd, but we come back to win that 1-2-1 on the night. It was very reminiscent of that for guys at my age. About 4 minutes later, we're not going to win this game on the night. It felt like when it was a corner, and the fella on the other side of me, a couple of seats along from the other side of me, he was saying to us at half time, that one's actually worse. The second goal's actually more criminal. When you see, it's a beautiful finish from the fella, but he's got zero, he's, what is it, about 5 yards back for the penalty, it's 2 yards back for the penalty spot, really, in terms of 3 yards inside the 18-yard line. It's a corner to Brugge, and he's not standing away out in the corner towards the kind of side of the box. He's almost central. It's actually difficult to leave somebody so unmarked at a corner like that, and we've got the whole kind of zonal thing across the 6-yard box. I don't know if it's supposed to be man marking after that. It didn't look like it anyway, and it was just in glorious isolation. It's a great ball to him, and he just hits it first time and floats it away to the far corner, and it goes. It's a nice finish, but the ball is floated to him. It's not like it's a rocket is sent to him. We've got time even then to adjust to what's happening as the ball comes in from that corner. But this is a situation. It looks like the players they're very conscious of their shape, to the point where they're not living it yet. They're not in the flow yet. This is where we're supposed to be, and it's all very kind of technical and stilted and stayed in like something you've read out a book, as opposed to something you're kind of breathing as a language that you speak naturally. The tactical template is taking a wee while to be taken on board. 10 games it should take. Game number 11 is Celtic, as my mate was saying, is game number 11 is Celtic at Ibrox. So it was shocking, it was awful, the crowd's gone mad. We're 2-0 down after 7 minutes, and then we went another 7 minutes without conceding a goal, so that was quite good. That was pretty good. The line-up tonight was Jack Butland in goals, and we had young Jaden McGloma playing at left back. The 19-year-old we've just got on loan from Brentford. Was it £5 million he went for to Brentford? I heard somebody, was it Derek in the Rangers Review today talking about him as a £10 million player, so perhaps there's an add-on to that fee or whatever. But Brentford got him for £5 million from Southampton, where he'd worked with our current head coach. There was a bit of worries that he was too young, but I wasn't too bothered about him getting in there as an actual left back. He was at left back, and we had Max Aarons at right back. It was Nasser Giga and John Souttar at centre half, with Tav being on the bench. That is John Souttar became the captain. That's nothing. Jack Butland's no captain. He was that kind of vice captain, but it's John Souttar this season. That speaks of maybe him being expected not to be the number one goalkeeper. I don't know. This season we had Rothwell, Raskin and Diamandi in the middle, and I have to own up here, I was so traumatised by what was happening in the first 7 then 20 minutes. I noticed by the second half that if anybody was playing at 6, it was Nico Raskin. So I don't know if that happened as a change, because obviously we were completely different, same personnel but different energy in the second half. I don't know if that was part of it. I can't tell you if Joe Rothwell was playing at 8 or 6 tonight, but that was the trio in the three in midfield, and then we had the Ant-Man and the Gas either side of Danilo up front in the front three. But I think we'd constant kind of curling shots towards the back post. Joe Rothwell with a free kick that he curled round their wall and kind of come off the outside of the post, maybe just hitting the side netting at one point. But generally there was a few curlers, and you could suddenly see why, if nothing else, he likes guys that can play with both feet on either wing. So you're getting a bit of space to curl towards the back post as you cut inside. I think mostly coming from the Ant-Man and the Gas, but there was not a lot happening for Rangers up front. It was kind of shell shock all round, and the 20th minute, I think it was Danilo. We feel as if Danilo was at fault for that one. The man was behind him, big fella that's behind him. I love the same guy who scored the absolute perler against us in that friendly a few months ago to put Bruce 2-0 up in that, but this one puts him 3-0 up. It looks like, I think we're clearing the ball, and Danilo he doesn't have anything to offer in terms of physicality. Danny, number 99, he melted like a 99, I don't know. He flaked. He gets dispossessed, and the fella just piles it and rattles an absolute peach right in the top corner. But by this point in time, we're not appreciating Club Brugge's football, which Rangers are 3-0 down after 20 minutes in a European game at home. Juventus, Liverpool, they've all been here. Milan, Real Madrid, none of them have been 3-0 up in the space of 20 minutes, although Milan beat us 4-1 at Ibrox in the late 50s, I think, in the European Cup. I need to check exactly, because they totally disrespected us by not playing the second leg at the San Siro. They were so confident that they were through that they played it at the Arena Civica. We stayed for Napoleon's time. They played it there, so we didn't get to play them at the San Siro at that point in time. Anyway, that was it. We're 3-0 down after 20 minutes, and you're thinking, yeah, this could be 5 or 6. Could be 5 or 6, and my whole thing of it's a bonus. It's a bonus to beat this game, does it? It was like, it's not a bonus if we get absolutely scalped, and you would wonder then. I said last night, the only way Russell Martin's getting sacked is if we lose something like 6 or 9 goals over the course of the 2 legs against Club Brugge, get beat by St Mirren, and then Celtic gives an absolute doing at Ibrox by 4 or 5, and you're thinking, yeah, it's on. Well done, Alec. You've mentioned that. You've made it happen. Well done. It doesn't work with my lottery tickets. It didn't happen though. We didn't. That was it. We kind of got our way through it at the half time, getting a bit more into the game, but not very effective. The whole team looked totally shell shocked. But already Migloma, Jared Migloma, I have to excuse me if he's pronounced his name wrong. Number 30, and I think it was his dad, was up behind us in the main stand in the kind of annex car park for the complimentaries. He's obviously just arrived. They couldn't get him a seat in the director's box, so they've got him up in the kind of posh seats up behind us, and you could hear him just telling him, go, go, go. He had a good wee shift. I think we're okay in the left-hand side. Gassama always looks like he can make something happen. We're quiet in the right, and the problem is the defence and probably the way we're defending. There was a couple of times where Giga got the ball and kind of turned round, and it was like, folk, just put it out, just kick the thing out. We're deep in our own half. Just boot the ball out, fire it into the stand, and I think it's like, and he's turning it and he's playing a really risky ball up the line or inside to try and find somebody. And then we're through on goal. We're kind of looking like we could get an attack going through on goal. So it's that thing of, this is why when it's not working, when everybody's kind of getting used to it and aren't implementing this tactical blueprints or this style to the best of their ability, when it's not full of automatisms, when it's not second nature, then we're going to get destroyed by quality opposition. But you can see that when it does work, it'll be good. I think it'll be good, and I'm still confident that it will work, that it is going to happen. But everybody was praying there was going to be substitutions at half time. There was no substitutions at all, no change of personnel, but a definite change in tempo and a change. I don't know what happened. Maybe Rothwell had been playing 6 and they swapped it to Raskin, but that's quite a thing. It's quite a thing. Raskin, I think the general belief is that Raskin wants to play at 6 and is raging that he isn't. And he's had a kind of a battle of wills with the head coach, which has led to questions at pressers about Nico Raskin's future at Rangers. I was expecting Raskin to leave anyway, but no Dessers on the bench tonight, has to be said. No Dessers, and I forgot to mention that. So that was. It's also quite a thing to Tav. He's on the bench when we've got 2 other fellas playing both the full-back positions. A wee kind of seminal moment. We keep writing Tav off. I keep thinking this is him getting put out to pasture, and it never happens. He's always needed. But we went out in the second half with clear intent, and you have to say that what often happens in European games, you're 3-0 up at half time, 3-0 up in 20 minutes. If it's you know that if you take your foot off the gas, you might not score any more goals because you've had that golden period. You need to take advantage, and maybe Club Brugge had shot their ball a little bit. But out we came and just took kind of control of the game, and I'm really impressed with the way the players come back into it in the second half. And within 5 minutes, I think it was 49 minutes, Migloma goes down the wing, goes down the left-hand side, and just curls a lovely work down the left-hand side, and just curls it wasn't even curled, it was just a lovely kind of slightly curved ball from the left wing right across the face of the 6-yard box, and in comes Danilo for the simple striker's finish into the bottom of the net, and that's us back into the game. And a right good roar as well, and the crowd were right up for it after that. There was no kind of, oh God, that's the best you can manage. None of that kind of, I can barely get off my arse to applaud you. I think there's there was a definite feeling that we just need to keep this respectable. And that certainly was my feeling as well. We're out. It's not going to happen. And I think it's also a resignation or an acceptance that we maybe don't want to go into the Champions League at this point in time. You need the money. I know you need the money. We do need the money. But while we've got big American backers, we might as well suck it up a bit. We can maybe ride out that kind of particular financial setback of not getting into the Champions League. It would have been a bonus anyway. It's costing us 40 million. As I say, we were never meant to get this close to that £40 million pot. But I think it's also kind of, let's just keep this respectable, because if we do go into the Champions League group stage, we're going to get humped. You're going to get proper quality teams, at least two coming to Ibrox, then having to go to the home of another two. And the way we're playing tonight, imagine that going to PSG or Barcelona or something like that. It would be awful. And I'm not quite ready to have that kind of stuff on my CV just yet. We've been watching that happen to Celtic for the last decade or so. So, yeah, but then huff and puff a lot. Did really well. Had most of the play. Brugge still lethal looking on the counter attack. A couple of cracking saves for Jack Butland to keep them at 3 goals. Club Brugge. I think he had one at the end of the first half and another one in the second half. A couple of really steady saves as well. We still look a bit ropey. Corners and all that were giving us the shakes. They could counter attack, but we had most of the play. We freshened it up with. We took off Danilo and Diamondi and brought on Egaman, and was it Mikey Moore? No, it wasn't Mikey Moore. I think it was Asgard. I think it was maybe about after 60 minutes, and then later on Tav comes on. About 20 minutes to go, Tav comes on for young Megaloma, who's 19 years old. Massive move for him. A lot of emotion, put a hell of a lot of energy into that game. Really impressive, really good. So Tav comes on to play at left back and starts just knocking 40-yard balls from one wing to the other, straight to people's feet. But a class for Tav when he came on, I thought. And we also had somebody who came on. Mikey Moore comes on for the Ant-Man, who'd been kind of restricted in what he could get up to tonight. I don't want to be too hard on the front, any of the front players, because I don't think that's what the real problem is. I think they look really good when they get going. It's just about getting the ball to them. And later on, Lyle Cameron come on for somebody, Joe Rothwell, about 3 or 4 minutes to go, which went into 5 minutes of injury time, at which point Club Brugge just kept sitting down anytime we had any threat of pressure. And this is from when they were 2-0 up, then just after they went 3-0 up in the first half, right through the game, they would just do that thing of sitting down in the park. Cheating bastards. I just find that it's a really shitty, scummy move. When we do it, it's fine, obviously, but I find it's just like it's killing football, that kind of stuff. It's horrible. You just sit down and you get attention for the referee, and the game gets held up. And at one point, I think we kicked the ball out for them, and the place was going crazy. There was a lot of angst in the stands tonight. A few folks standing up and shouting the odds at Russell Martin, telling them where to go and what have you. But I don't know as much as you might have expected in this situation. So I don't think listening to social media and a few other podcasts and what have you the last few days, I felt as if the tone of my whole podcast last night, my preview pod, was, Christ, it's not that bad. Folk think we're going to get hung, drawn and quartered in this little spell of 4 games. Home and away against Bruce, St Mirren away, and then Celtic at home, and that'll be the end of Russell Martin. Number 1, it won't be, even if we lose all those games, it won't be the end of Russell Martin. And number 2, I just don't think things are that bad. I think we're looking quite good. I think the whole setup looks quite good. Rangers obviously aren't playing particularly well, certainly not for entire games anyway. But they're not supposed to just yet. 10 games. So we huffed and puffed, couldn't quite bring it back. There was Nasser and Giga started doing really well at centre half today. I don't know, but the gas man was doing really well. He was the man. He was kind of bobbing and weaving, and we had the ball in the back of the net as he kind of. I thought it was an own goal actually. That he just had them all at sea. I don't know, was that about quarter of an hour to go, and I just thought 3-2 would be fine. I was making wee kind of deals with myself, that kind of as if. There's some sort of higher power listening to you. I'll take 3-2. I'm not asking to win the game. I'm not even asking to draw. 3-2 just keeps us a really outside chance of actually going through, but it just keeps it respectable overall. But so I was delighted when the ball went in the net, but apparently there'd been a foul or handball, or I don't know what happened. It went VAR, but it was really quick. The referee initially gave the goal. The place gets to go crazy for 2 or 3 minutes, but it's something that's happening to us these days, isn't it? The same with against Dundee. We scored the goal against. We thought we'd scored the winner against Dundee. Goes to VAR. Bang. That's it. It's chalked off. So it's VAR being harsh to us. a lot of time. Although it got us that penalty against Alloa, has to be said, and it didn't overrule the penalty we got against Dundee that day. So obviously VAR is still vacuously anti-Rangers, not, isn't it? It's 3-2, folks. I don't really know what to say about that. I don't think 3-1. Sorry, we thought it was 3-2. It pulled back to 3-1 with a few other chances. We generally had the energy, we had the kind of shape, and it looked a lot more like the thing in the second half. If that's only because Bruges were 3-0 up, then fair enough. That's an accusation we can level at the manager, the head coach, and at the players. But a seriously uneven performance. We won the second half, lost the first half. Won the second half, but a seriously uneven performance. But at the end of the day, as I say, we losing by 2 goals at home in Europe, especially to a club like Club Brugge, the kind of semi-finalists in the Conference League the season before last 16 of the Champions League last season. It's not a fantastic disgrace, and especially after that first 20 minutes. It's one of those ones where we've been so brutally awful in the first 20 minutes that you almost feel kind of chuffed with them, kind of chuffed for Rangers by the end of that. That's not right. I know that isn't right. That's not the whole deal here, but we'll see what happens in the second leg. But now we move on to Paisley. The one thing I would say is probably the first thing you noticed as well, Club Brugge. That away kit, it's very like Union St Gilles was. The away kit they wore when they came to Ibrox last season. I'm starting to remember a thing in the was it the kind of 2000s, early 2000s, or maybe the 2010s. All the French clubs, all the Ligue 1 clubs seem to wear all grey, kind of silvery all grey away kits, all of them. At one point, I don't know if it's I thought the Club Brugge their away kit, even though it's got the trim of their own colours, very like the Union St Gilles was away kit that they wore. Maybe there's a Belgian thing, some sort of edict put out by they've got. Do you think maybe that's a thing you could do? When you think about it, away kits could just be one colour. It's a colour that no other club in the league has as a home kit. So all grey or something like that. It's a kind of creamy white top with a dark, obviously black shorts. I think they must have been maybe a kind of Belgian, almost like a Belgian away kit, but. We've lost to a Belgian side at home in Europe, I think, for the first time ever. What's that, the 10th attempt? I don't think we've lost to Belgian clubs at home in Europe before this. I think we've beat the lot of them, actually. I don't think anybody's even taken a point off us or drawn with us in the previous 10 times we've had Belgian clubs at Ibrox. So we go to Bruges, we go to the Bredel next, the Jan Bredel next Wednesday. We won at the Park Schlesien against Standard Liège in 2020-2021, and then we won at the Boswell against Royal Antwerp in 2020-2021 in the Europa League. So let's see if we can go over there and do the bit. I mean, we get beaten. We'll ignore the fact that we lost in Leuven to Union St Gilles when we played them there at a temporary home European venue. And the round before this in the Champions League qualifiers a few seasons back. Sorry, folks, this is totally breaking down. I'll just leave you with one thought. When I was at the game against Alloa on Saturday, I'm sitting in the same seat at the front of the main stand. I'm kind of level, almost with the byline at the Copeland Road end, but more just kind of inside, about 2-3 yards inside the 6-yard box. I looked across, and in the sunshine, the sun was lashing down on Saturday there, and I could see a little. A wee boy, I think it was, and he was holding up one of those homemade kind of cardboard signs, wanting a player's shirt or whatever, but it just said 3 letters, and it just said TAV. It was just a bit of white cardboard, and right across it, and he's holding up his wee arms and that, and he was right in the front of the Govan, just straight opposite where I was, so I could see him in the sunshine, because a few seats were empty, not a big crowd for that game, or a lot of empty seats anyway, some 30,000. And he'd obviously just taken a black felt tip pen, or maybe probably got his mum to do it, because the letters were quite well drawn, but it was just TAV exclamation mark TAV. But maybe a slight, I don't know if it's an optical illusion or whatever. Maybe the V kind of ran a bit long at the bottom, or just the fact that the punctuation point, the dot at the bottom of the exclamation mark wasn't really clear. With these specs of mine, I'm not saying anything, I'm not criticising the writing of the wee boy or his mum, but the handwriting, but it was like it just looked like an I almost. If it took me a wee while to realise it was an exclamation mark at the end. It's a TAV exclamation mark. Just want to get TAV's attention, obviously. I thought that's a nice new way of doing it, but initially it said taxi. The wee boy was just holding up a sign that just said taxi. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's got any significance or anything like that. It just feels as if that's what's going to be happening in social media tomorrow, isn't it? You know, that's what's going to be happening in social media. Rangers social media, Rangers podcasts, proper podcasts, all day Wednesday, you know, and probably up until we play St Mirren on Sunday. There's going to be folk trying to final judgment, you know, something harsh, something significant that just sums it up, and just that is it. Taxi for Russell Martin, for Tav, for everybody, for our hopes, for our dreams, whatever. And it's not like that. I think the most difficult thing about this game tonight and about what happened and about this whole opening period for Russell Martin is that nothing's final. You know, it might be final that we're not going into the Champions League, but that's fine. I don't want to. And I think, you know, as long as we just get beat 3-1 in Bruges for the second leg, then that's absolutely fine. Yes, I mean, talking about the podcasters, that's Joshua Barry and Chris Jack can pass me there, so I'm just going to go and have a word with them and tell them who they're going wrong in their podcast. I'm not. I'm really scared. But this is the problem. Everybody just wants to, it's got to be, everything that happened tonight proves that it's going to be this and it's proven it's going to be that. It's just not like that. Real life's just not like that. Fitbit is real life. It isn't really in terms of the emotion and that and the money. What is it? Its own week in a bubble world. But it doesn't just go in a straight upward curve, the improvement and stuff like that. We get beat at home in Europe. We drew 0-0 with 9 men towards the end of our last game at home in Ibrox in Europe last season. The game before that, we get beat 2-0 and then 1 on penalties. It's messy. Things don't happen in a straight upward curve, and I think we're going to be absolutely fine under Russell Martin. And I'll talk to you on Friday and try and persuade you again why that's going to be the case at Paisley.